Hello everyone, and good morning. Welcome to another webcast of Alexandra Mayers Live. Now this morning, I initially just planned to read a blog post that I wrote a little while ago entitled "A Phone Call at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the Night Before Last." And I have read this particular blog before on a live webcast of Alexandra Mayers Live. But since July 23rd, really, I've been a little bit disturbed about a very tragic loss to not only the adult entertainment industry and specifically the Dom community, but to the world. The loss of a beautiful soul known as January Seraph. Since learning about her loss, I decided to post the following tweets. Faulting, degrading, and targeting porn stars, adult entertainment workers, and sex workers is ignorant and weak. Fault the demand and those who have a financial interest in maintaining the demand. Tonight, I'm a bit more sad over January Seraph's departure than I thought I was, because that particular night, it really hit me. I didn't know January Seraph very well, and I'm not going to claim that I did. I only spoke with her on a couple of occasions, very, very briefly. It was shortly after I'd relocated to Las Vegas from Los Angeles at what I consider, looking back, the height of the stalking and harassment that I've dealt with for several years. January actually reached out to me because she dealt with some stalking and harassment and depression consequently as well. I actually didn't even realize it until researching her a bit prior to this webcast, but January and I have the same birthday. But she was 4 years younger than I am. She was born January 7th, 1983, and as I stated earlier, she passed earlier this month. I do want to share with some of you some tweets from her Twitter that have to do with how she was feeling, how she felt about herself, society, and the world. In this particular tweet, January Seraph references an xbiz.net post which apparently encourages performers to remain silent when they encounter problems within the United States pornographic industry. That is, unless they want to stop getting work. January writes, "This line of thinking on xbiz.net is never going to help adult performers gain the rights that they need." In this tweet, January makes it known that she felt that the Adult Performers Advocacy Committee was a good idea, and she asks people to donate to them to help them create change. It appears that January was extremely politically minded and very concerned about today's political climate. In this series of tweets, she states, "Under the Trump regime, Republicans are going to make it easier for me, a person with treatment-resistant depression, to obtain a gun. In case you missed it, that's a bad idea. People like me are the last people on earth who should have access to firearms. But oh wait, there's more setup for catastrophe heading our way from Trump's regime. They also want to take away my or our health insurance. Sure, give me a gun and block my ability to properly manage my depression. Republicans, I won't come for your children. They're innocent." Are you a Republican? If those two policies go into place, I may violently rage and quit life to illustrate how your policies are evil. Are you a Republican? Want to prove to me you aren't a monster? Call and write your reps and tell them to keep Obamacare and veto Trumpcare. Stigma makes people suffer in darkness, and that darkness enables silent systematic discrimination and abuse. If you have ever privately or publicly shamed someone for being crazy, you're a part of that systemic problem. The only reason that Blue Shield California is able to give me the runaround and that the insurance system is so fucked for mental health is stigma. I know that mental health issues are highly stigmatized. I don't give a fuck about trying to be secretive about my own anymore. It's literally killing me. If you're not actively telling your reps to vote no on the Senate health bill, you are complicit in harming me. I was wrong. If the world I live in can even conceive of a health care bill like the Senate's current bill, this isn't a world for me. I'm going back to bed. There is literally no point in continuing to try to get better. Fuck this life. Again, fuck you, Trump. Obamacare isn't perfect, but you are omitting the people who it saved. Like me. I was uninsurable until I was 34. I want everyone to remember, and I hope I do hit this concept home by reading the blog post that I mentioned I wanted to read to all of you earlier. Every porn star, sex worker, or adult entertainer is someone's child. There's a tremendous amount of sex workers who do take accountability and responsibility for everything that they do, everything that they've done, and actions that they may take in the future. But what people do need to remember is that what led sex workers to make the choices that they've made is a crowd of people behind them that they've interacted with throughout their lives. A crowd of people who oftentimes shirk taking accountability or responsibility for their actions that affected the life of the particular sex worker that led that sex worker to make the choice to become what they've opted to become. I think that more people in this world need to take accountability and responsibility for their actions, who they are, and the lives that they affect. Further, I want to say that if you claim to love or care about somebody, words aren't enough. You have to act. If there's someone out there that you know of that is feeling incredibly down, maybe not just about sex work, but about the state of the society that we live in, reach out to them and offer a helping hand. For several years now, independently, and it was unintentional, I've acted as a soul suicide hotline for quite a few people. I can't do it anymore. So I implore those of you out there who have resources, who have the drive, who feel the call to help, please launch a suicide hotline specifically for sex workers, adult entertainers, and porn stars. Because there's several people, several entities within our society that have the objective to drive us to kill ourselves. I know that sounds harsh, possibly even trite, but it's true. Society looks at people who have chosen, opted of their own volition to be adult entertainers, porn stars, or sex workers as throwaways, as people who can justifiably be used and abused. And that's not good, and it has to change. It really does. Once more, I'd like to send my sincerest condolences to those who truly cared for and loved the beautiful soul known as January Seraph. She will be missed. Every once in a while nowadays, I still stay up really late at night. Usually, it's when I'm listening to cinematic music by David Arkenstone, an effort to numb the pain from thoughts of the past. Memories I thought I'd completely forgotten. Memories that for whatever reason have recently started to resurface, and that I'm unable to completely purge from my mind. Sometimes I wonder if the thoughts that keep me awake at night are actually visitors from other dimensional planes, keeping me company until it's time for me to do my job. A job I have never been paid for monetarily. A job which has brought one of the porn industry's lead attorneys to manufacture a fraudulent lawsuit against me that I've been forced to defend myself against in civil court. And a job that has led several attached to the pornographic industry and organized crime to discuss my pending death, which would likely be a murder, for approximately 7 years now. The night before last was an evening I found myself wide awake till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to receive a phone call. A call I'm sure my visitors watching from an unseen dimension expected, but that I certainly didn't anticipate. You see, I have a friend, a male friend, who used to work in the porn industry too. I've known him for over 5 years, and if it weren't for his advice when I was homeless and wandering from Nevada to Arizona a couple of years ago, I probably never would have had the courage to reconnect with my mother. Honestly, if it weren't for my friend being on the other end of the phone when I called him on occasion a couple of years ago, I'd likely already be dead. My current state of mind leads me to believe that my male friend gave me the advice he did back then as a sort of deposit into a savings account. I feel he knew that one day he'd need to return to the Bank of Alexandra to withdraw his deposit, and at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the night before last, he did. A little backstory. Once upon a time, my friend was essentially the male equivalent of the porn star known as Jenna Jameson. I never worked with him while I was an active porn star, and I consider that a blessing, because I have a habit of not remaining friends with men I've had intercourse with, be that intercourse having been either personal or professional in nature. My friend who called me at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is my brother in spirit. At one point, I cursed him for not being my lover, prior to even having met him in person. Ironically, we initially connected online, because at the time, I thought the only way a man, outside of a blood-related family member, could ever really care about me was through sexual attraction to me. The night before last, after the main course of our conversation, I told my friend that I thought if he became a father, it would improve how he feels about himself and his life. Being a parent would be a distraction from his pain, a sort of closure for him too. My friend would be an amazing father, because he knows how the world works, cares very deeply, and is intensely creative. He writes stories that rival the movie scripts from Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Stories that paint fanciful mental images, like the works from Boris Vallejo and Salvador Dali. In response to my suggestion to my friend that he breed, my friend asked me if I'd have his kid. I think he was kind of joking, but kind of wasn't. I had to let him know that at this phase I feel too old to be a mother, though that's only the partial truth. The complete truth is that I'd be one selfish bitch to become a mother at this stage, considering the enemies I've made in the porn industry who are attached to organized crime. The thing about me is that I'm not the type who believes in cursing children straight out the gate. So back to 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What many don't realize about my friend is that he has many invisible wounds, the worst kind of wounds that one can have from my perspective. As a child, he was beaten down very badly, so badly that he ran away from home well before the age of 25, the age that a human brain is biologically fully developed. My friend told me at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the night before last that he knew back when he ran away from home he had two choices. He could either be homeless on the streets or he could join the circus. I told him in response that I think he actually realized that he could either die or become a slave. His response in turn was, "Yeah, I agree." My brother in spirit was crying a little the night before last because, like me, he's a reminder to those who made the choice to bring him into this world that they didn't exactly care for him properly. He's a reminder that he wasn't fully heard or understood. Like me, my friend is a mirror that reflects the faults and the mistakes of those who created him. And like me, he elected to put his creator's blunders in the center ring as the main attraction for the world to see. For people who like to keep up appearances, it would be far easier for their mirrors like myself and my friend, to simply crumble into dust that can be easily swept under the rug, rather than mirrors that remain intact. Probably only an hour or two before 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the night before last, my friend was watching a movie with his mother, a woman who happens to be a bartender and who keeps quantities of alcohol in the house. She had a drink, and my friend, her son, had 2 drinks. Then her son had another drink. Then my friend's mother said to him, "You sure drink a lot. Maybe you should stop drinking for a week." He responded, "Maybe we should both stop drinking for a month." His mother then told him to get out. I have a family member who once told me, there are the people who drink and the people who drive others to drink. I think my friend's mother would highly benefit from talking to this particular family member of mine. After my friend told me about his evening's events that led him to calling me at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I asked him if he was in a safe place. He was. He was in his room at his mother's house still. I explained to him why she became upset. It wasn't his drinking, it was hers. My friend didn't learn how to drink on his own, and when his mother looks at him, she sees her mistakes, her flaws, her choices, and her failures. She simply sees herself, and she doesn't like what she sees. I explained to my friend shortly after 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the night before last, that his mother likely can't go without drinking for a month. I told him that his father, who turned him away multiple times throughout his life, is a jerk, who refuses to take accountability for his creation, and who is running away from taking responsibility for the result his creation is. I asked my friend if his history as a porn star is still a hot topic in his family. His response, yes. I let him know that it's only because it's easier for his family members to use him as a distraction from their own issues, rather than allowing attention to be drawn to their own shortcomings. I made it clear to my friend that what led him to calling me the night before last was actually a healthy part of the healing process that he and his mother are experiencing. I let him know that his mother won't kick him out, I asked my friend around 2:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the night before last if his family knew about his book, his scripts, and the amazing way he communicates and shares his ideas. He told me that they don't. I asked my brother in spirit if his family knew about how much effort and time he's put into trying to help others who've walked in his shoes. Again, he told me they don't know. I believe that my friend thinks his family doesn't know how awesome he is. And I didn't tell him this, but I have a feeling that a couple of his family members actually do know, but choose to keep beating him up anyways because they're jerks. Jerks who want to keep a whipping boy around because they know damn well they aren't strong enough to survive being whipped equally as hard and for as long as my friend has endured the sting of their lashes. My friend told me he feels like he's returned to the same place that led him to run away to join the circus back when he was still essentially a child. But this time, there's no circus for him to join. I told him that he might feel that way, but that's not the reality, because back then he didn't have me to call, but today he does. So things will be different this time. As you, my readers, know, I have almost zero monetary resources. I do have a brain, though, and a few weeks ago I decided to build my friend the start to a new circus. It's really just a tent with a center ring and some bleachers, and it doesn't have any acts yet, but it may very soon. I hope my friend can develop his circus into something far better than the one he was lured into being a part of, the one that fraudulently advertises itself as the greatest show on earth, but in actuality is a legal human slaughterhouse. By 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I was able to get my longtime friend to laugh. He then told me that he had to go to bed, and I gave him a pleasant thought to dream about. Towards the end of the conversation, my friend said to me, "Hey, you did a good job," and I told him, "Thank you." That's how I get paid for my job, you know. Not in tangible currency, but in spiritual currency. Being told that I did a good job is what helps me understand why people attached to the porn industry and organized crime go to such lengths to make me feel like a piece of trash, why they build websites to slander my family, and why they publicly discuss my pending death. More people need to be awake at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because one day I won't be here to answer the phone. More people also need to realize that on this earthly dimensional plane, some of the most important occupations don't receive monetary compensation. My friend told me that I'm the strongest woman he knows, and I know he believes that. The truth, however, is that I'm only a woman who was taught by another woman, her mother, a retired elementary school teacher. I was taught that sometimes you must be the one who's strong for others, even if it means that you run the risk of losing your own sanity. I'm also a woman who believes in the wonderful stories that people like her talented friend, an ex-male porn star who never received the same attention as Jenna Jameson, simply because he's a male with a strong spirit, writes. I'm a woman whose strength is merely the equivalent to that of a child who believes that unicorns and fairy tales are indeed real, still to this day. Thank you, everyone, for giving me a little bit of your time this morning, or afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Once more, I'm Alexandra Mayers.